Hey, what's up, everybody? We are live with the Just Joking podcast. I am one half of the crew, King,
And I'm Joe.
and we are back after a long Thanksgiving break. Man, how was your Thanksgiving, brother?
It was good. It was uneventful, which is
Great.
nice. Nice and peaceful and quiet. Just a family. We chilled. It went well. We tried something new because we were doing like this like keto thing. So we took out some of the staples we're missing. Not a lot had to change because most healthy food is keto friendly anyways. It was just there were some things that we had to take out, which I regret because I missed my mashed potatoes this year. Um, but all in all, it's fantastic, and my wife knows how to make a killer turkey.
Dope, dope. Now, hey, look, for those of y'all that either don't celebrate Thanksgiving or just don't care, I look at it as a time to spend with family and friends and eat. That's all
Hmm.
I care about.
Yeah,
I don't care about, yeah, I don't care about the history.
no,
Let me
you
just
could
say,
call it you could call it whatever day you want.
yep, you can call it
Yep.
whatever day you want, but I get a day off and I get to be gluttonous, and it is what it is.
I mean, what's a more American holiday than a day where we just celebrate eating? I mean,
Exactly.
and football.
Yes, yes, and football, which there was some fantastic football games. So I would like to say thank you for inviting me and my daughter,
Of
because
course,
you obviously didn't have to do that. We didn't end up showing up because we went out of state, but you were the first and we did accept. And I don't want that to go unnoticed. So thank you for even inviting us, man. I
of
appreciate
course,
that.
man. Yeah.
Rock on, rock on. All right. Well, hey, people, look, this is the Just Joking podcast. Let me get into the marketing stuff real quick before we get into the episode. We are streaming live on YouTube and our public facing Facebook page. Just type in Just Joking Podcast, will pop up. If you watch this on YouTube, hit the like button, engage with us, okay? Leave a comment down below in the comment section or live if you're catching this live to help us out with engagement. Okay. If you're catching this on Facebook, comment. Let us know that you're watching. We'd appreciate that. Okay. We also put the audio only version podcast on all major podcasting platforms shortly after we get done with the live stream. Not going to put a specific date, but we try to get that out within 24 hours. That's all the marketing stuff. We're coming to you guys with a whole new format. All right. We took the Thanksgiving break to really ask ourselves, how can we make this thing provide some value and be entertaining and also engage? Because Joe and I, we think about stuff all the time. We talk about stuff all the time. Humans can be cool, but also humans suck at the same time. And I've got a couple of things that we're going to bring up today that's all human centric articles. Okay. There's a billion people on this planet, but I'm going to highlight four specific stories. Joe's aware of some of them. He's not aware of maybe the details on all of them, but we're definitely going to get into it. We've got John Thompson in the building. Said, been a minute since y'all have done an episode. I'm listening in class. Yo, hey man, I appreciate that. Get that A while you're there. Hopefully, we can provide some entertainment. Don't laugh if we say something that's going to cause you to laugh while
Don't
you
get in
are in
trouble in
class.
class.
But hey, I appreciate you catching, man, the live stream. You always been supportive of us, so we appreciate that. So, Joe, we got an hour, might go a little bit over an hour, okay, with this new format. So let's get right into the first story and
Mhm.
talk about it. Let's say you were a plumber. Let's say you were a plumber that found envelopes containing checks in cash hidden in a wall at a mega church.
Mm.
What would you do?
Well, I mean, in this hypothetical, am I an honest person or am I somebody who is in dire need of some checks and some cash.
Hey man, you are you,
Well,
and
me
you
personally, I
find
find it in a church. I'm gonna have a lot of questions about why a church is hiding money.
man. So check this: a plumber at mega celebrity Joel Osteen's church in Houston
Uh,
found about 500 envelopes that had money in it that was around about $600,000, and it turns out that was money stolen from the church dating back to March 2014.
mm,
A lot of that doesn't add up to me. So I'm curious, when the original person stole it, okay, did they steal it from the church, built it, helped built it, and then left it there this whole time? Why didn't they ever come back for it?
that doesn't sound like stolen money to me. I know there's got to be more to this story than this, though.
Has to be. It
Like,
has to be. I started looking for information on what in the world, because it doesn't make sense. They've offered rewards as well over the years to like find the money.
yeah.
And this plumber, 7 years later, who was removing a toilet, discovers it, and they gave him 20,000 of the 600,000 that was found.
But I mean, hundreds of envelopes containing checks to cash. Like, wouldn't those not be valid anymore? Like, isn't it like 90 days and like most checks go bad anyways? Like, I mean, unless they're personal checks, in which case those people could have just voided them. Like, I don't know, 500
Ooh, see,
envelopes. Oof.
see, that's a fantastic point. You have a point there, because cashier's checks or even regular checks, like, yeah, they aren't valid after a certain
120
time
days.
period.
John said 120
Okay,
days. I mean,
120.
that sounds right to me. Like, if that's been in there since 2014, I don't think any of that stuff should be valid anymore. But my thing is, you don't steal checks, you steal cash. Like, it doesn't sound, I don't know, it's weird.
It was. This whole story is weird. Joel Osteen is weird. I said it. Don't come for me.
Mm. Joe Osteen's shady, dude. He'll do what he has to do to make a profit.
That's what I believe. I don't know the guy. Apparently, he's done some good things, but
I'm sure he
just
has. I'm sure he has.
something about him just screams shady to me. And I'm not quick to label anybody shady. I will quickly label that guy shady.
The way I see it is anybody who gets rich off of the backs of the faith of people, that doesn't sound, that's not that's not legit. Like, I don't care what anybody says. You're making money off of somebody else's faith. Uh, that just doesn't. Yeah. Plus, I
There
mean,
you go.
I lost all respect for him when he closed his doors during the flooding in the during the hurricane season that one year.
Yes, same here, brother. Same here. For those of y'all watching or catching this, let us know, what do you think about Joel Osteen personally as a person, and then for the story, would you have returned or said something about $500 or 500 envelopes worth of checks, or would you just been like, not my problem? Because I might have just gone, not my problem. If it was cash, I'm like, yeah, I fixed this toilet, but that was it. I'm not reporting cash, but that's just me. That's the type of person I am. I will say that on camera. I find cash. I found cash. Man, kind of off subject. Why can't I be one of the people that's riding behind one of those Brinks trucks and the back of the doors open and like bags of money fly out? I'm just gonna, you know what? New thing, because I do a lot of driving. When I'm on the highway, if I find a Brinks truck, I'm just gonna cruise control right behind that joker the entire time and start doing whatever I gotta do, praying to whoever to see if just, hey, let some of them doors fly open and some of that cash come out, man.
They're gonna think you're trying to rob them. They're gonna
You
start
know
doing
what?
evasive maneuvers.
That is actually a horrible idea. John Thompson came out and said Joel Osteen's a piece of shit. Yes, he is.
But he's a very rich piece of shit.
Yes, yes. All right, we got another story, man, and this one I saw today, and it made me go. "Well, it's not necessarily what he did, but it was his execution that got me." So in this story, you have a Marine Corps veteran from Springs Valley, California, I believe. Let me do
Okay.
from Springs Valley, California. The headline is he falsely claimed he was disabled and defrauded the Department of Veterans Affairs out of $183,000 and was sentenced to 8 months in custody. Now his claims revolved around him not being able to stand for more than 10 minutes at a time, needing assistance with bathing, and obtaining caregiver benefits for his wife for not being able to do a lot of things physically. Yet, this same individual was also taking part in fitness challenges. It says coaching youth sports, but you can
Mhm.
coach sitting down. That part I didn't
Yeah.
have a problem with. But if you're claiming you can't stand for more than 10 minutes, and then you go out here doing uh
Fitness
uh
challenges.
fitness challenges, push-ups, and posting it on social media, I question your judgment and how you thought that was going to fly.
But
So
then the best part is you get to that next chapter and it said that he learned how to build the system from his job as a VSR. He's a service rep for veterans
uh
in the benefits administration. This, like, oh my god, are you serious? Like,
it
wow.
it doesn't make sense. It's we are in a connected age, my man, and it's something that me and you've talked about in a past episode, in that you have this online presence now, and people need to be more cognizant of their online presence. I do this live stream. I have several other live streams. I have social media. None of my stuff is private. Okay,
Hmm.
if y'all want to come find King Smith, Google me. It's that easy. Google me. I'm easy to find. Okay, I like to think that my online presence and what I do mirrors who I am in person,
Yeah.
but I don't know how you may perceive what it is that I'm putting out. Okay.
Yeah.
And something that me and you talked about as well. Like, you don't rarely see me put out stuff whenever I'm not feeling the best.
Hmm.
Okay. Because I don't want people to see that. Let's just call it a spade a spade. I don't want people to see that. But if you're going to be out here claiming that you can't stand for 10 minutes and do a whole lot of physical stuff, you don't want to be on social media posting
Doing that stuff.
yourself doing ruck marches and tough mutters and things like that. Joe, make it make sense, man.
I mean, it sounds like exactly what's going on. Dude was trying to fake the funk, and he got caught. I mean, like you said, like it's one thing to say you're some kind of way and pretend you're a better person online, but this is not that situation. Like he's not a depressed person at home pretending to be a happy-go-lucky person online. Like that would be harder to like hold up in the court of law, but saying you can't lift 20 pounds and then doing, weights on your back doing push-ups, I mean that yeah, I mean that's definitely more than 20 pounds, even the 25-pound weight. Like lifting
Mm-hmm.
your whole body off the ground is more than 20 pounds. That's
Hey,
crazy.
can I tell you what? This goes to show people out there that might be watching or listening. I say this: look, learn from idiots. Okay, learn from idiots. People think that they're above the law or that they're not going to get caught.
Yeah.
In my opinion, with a lot of different things, it's only a matter of time. Like,
Yeah.
look, I'm doing dirt now that I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get caught doing.
Don't be putting that up on me right now, man. I don't need that. Like you
when
read this article. That dude's wife went down too. Don't bring me down with you.
that was going to be the last thing that I brought up here. The wife was also charged with theft of government property, pleaded guilty, and entered into a deferred prosecution agreement. Do you know what that means? Because I don't.
I mean, from the way it sounds like basically she's going for a lesser charge kind of thing, probably. Because I mean, let's be
Ah,
honest, it's all him. She just had to play along, and yeah, that's illegal, and yeah, she's gonna get in trouble. But I don't think it's gonna be as bad as him, you know?
okay. Well, I wanted to bring those two articles up. You weren't aware of those before
No,
we went live,
no,
but I was building up what we were going to be doing today, and I saw that one, and I shook my head. I
yeah,
shook my head because I'm like, this person who worked as a VSO knows the rules and knows the system. And I would like to think, like Scooby Doo, that he would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for them pesky kids. I would say the guy would have likely gotten away with it if he wasn't showing a different lifestyle online.
yeah. I
Thoughts
mean,
about that?
ultimately, like when people make these kind of claims, there's not a lot of ways people can prove that it's false. You know what I mean? Yeah, it really depends on how they go after him. But I mean, let's be honest. If he accepted a year or two's worth of checks from the VA, they're going to go after him for a lot of money, and he's going to get in a lot of trouble. That's defrauding the government. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, the only way he'd get out of this if he was already a billionaire, and then they would just say, "Oh, he was just moving money around." Like all the rich people always stay out of jail.
Yeah, they
Um,
get in trouble different than us regular folks.
no, they don't even get in trouble, dude. They're just like, "Oh, all right, I'll just pay taxes."
John Thompson said, "Yeah, but if
Yeah.
they want to
Well,
make an
yeah.
example out of them, then they
Yeah.
would absolutely."
Well, yeah. Well, that just depends. When it comes to making an example out of him, it's going to be really uh, what the consequences are. Because
Mm,
I mean, he's in trouble. It doesn't matter how they go after him. He's in trouble. I mean, he's screwed there. How screwed is the question? And I think it already sounds like the wife is going to be okay. Because it already sounds like she's locking herself in now into that deferred litigation or whatever you want to call it. So she's probably going to be okay. Otherwise, this article would be a lot longer. You know what I mean? They'd be talking about that she's screwed.
true that. True that. All right, let's get into our two main stories for
Mm,
today. Man, I picked these out, and you'll notice a theme between the stories. They're similar, yet they're similar to the type of people, yet contrasting. And it speaks to kind of what I want to know is, why do people think the way that they think?
mm,
Okay. And we're gonna get into the first one here, and it's tragic. Yet, I I saw this and just thought, why? Now, if you look at the headline, is it Leonard Wood?
hmm.
Because there's people they say it fast and it sounds like Fort Leonard Wood, and I'm like, but it
No,
don't
it's
look that
Leonard
way.
Wood. Yeah,
Fort
it's Leonard
Leonard
Wood.
Wood, soldier killed, two others arrested in a robbery. All right, and the headline reads: One soldier who shot and killed two others were charged with second-degree murder after they allegedly robbed two homes shortly after one of the suspects had been married. So you walk down the aisle, you say, I do. You maybe don't have a uh like a what you call it, like a wedding,
A
the thing that you
honeymoon?
do after a honeymoon, yeah, because screw marriages. You don't have a honeymoon because you're an army soldier who married a stripper close to the base. I don't know the story, I just put that in there. And you go and decide, you know what, I'm bored, let's go start robbing people. It doesn't make sense to me. Okay.
One of them got married. It's like, man, I don't know how I'm going to support this woman. I'm going to have to go rob a house.
Right? So, a 23-year-old guy by the name of Ethan Williams died of a gunshot wound in Lebanon this past Friday night. Two other
Mm,
people, Blake Paulson and Zachary Gillis, were charged with second-degree murder, burglary, and stealing, and are being held on no bond at the county jail. All three of those men were stationed at Fort Leonard Wood. So, if you read this article, you see that a 23-year-old died of a gunshot wound and he was part of the robbery.
I don't think he was part
Before
of
you
it.
get into the story, you're wondering, well, what happened?
Yeah.
How did he get shot? Okay. So, but before we get into that, the Army's response was, "We are aware of an incident that occurred in Lebanon, Missouri on December 3rd involving 3 soldiers who are stationed at Fort Leonard Wood. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families of those affected during this difficult time. We will continue to work closely with Lebanon Police Department as the investigation continues." That sounds like your boilerplate standard press response that you would put out in a situation like that.
Yeah.
As the guy who works in PR, is that what you see kind of standard?
Wait, what?
Like that type of
Circle back.
press release
Oh
right
yeah, that's
here.
standard. Yeah, that's average normal stuff. I mean, it's not putting out too much information, but giving you enough to know that, they're investigating. This is like they're confirming the facts that people probably already know, but they're not getting into what we really need them to get into.
Hmm.
Because I'm still trying to figure some stuff out here.
Okay, hey, let's dig deeper. A
Yeah.
probable cause statement said shortly after this guy was married. This was a typo. Come on, Army. Come on, Army Times. The
Hmm.
3 men decided to go rob Holmes. And hey, it sounds like exactly what you just said, man. This dude got married. Okay, he married a stripper close to the base. What should I keep that narrative up? Yes, yes, I
I
will.
mean, I've known it to happen a lot of times.
And then he was sitting around with his homeboys, like, "Hey, man, I just got married, but she's spending all my money, bro. Like, I gotta figure out something."
So
And
broke.
then, all those soldiers are sitting there, it's around the shortly after Thanksgiving, all right? There's that lull in downtime if you're not deployed around this time, where there's just not a lot going on. Let's be honest, depending on what your job is and where you're stationed at, that time between Thanksgiving and Christmas in the military, at least when I was in, there wasn't a lot going on unless you were TDY or
Yeah.
deployed.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was different, when you were in and things like that, but that's what I observed. Okay.
Well,
So
it
the
gets
story,
real interesting here.
so the
Yeah.
story goes the men who were armed allegedly broke into a trailer where no one was home and took a gaming console. So, hey, they broke into the first home, nobody was there. They struck gold, got themselves a PS3 probably.
PS3. Let's be
Hey,
honest. They still in a gaming console. That was a PS5, and you know it.
Hey, this is Missouri that we're talking about. I'm going
Oh,
PS3.
you're totally alienating our Missouri listeners.
Yes, I am. Missouri listeners, prove me different. It continues. They went to a second home where they took some marijuana and money. Okay, two for two.
Two
First
for two.
home, gaming console. Second home, weed and money. But they don't just stop there. You have a little come up, but they don't just stop there. A 16-year-old boy at the home that the suspects were at. So I'm assuming that this was the second home.
Second home.
Okay.
Second home. Yeah.
Shot at the suspects and Williams was hit. The statement that kind of made me take a step back was it said the
Hmm.
juvenile was being held at a juvenile center on charges not related to the shooting. They
Hmm.
don't get more
Hmm.
into that. And I'm curious, and I wish
I
that
feel.
we would have brought this up
I
because
feel
I'm
like there's
like,
another story here.
there has to be, man.
Yeah.
There has to be because they
The
if you're
16-year-old
reading
was
this,
cooking meth.
yeah, if you're reading this, it leads you to believe that the 16-year-old boy caught them in his house and shot at him.
Yeah.
But maybe what's not here is the boy chased after him, or I don't know, man. I don't
Nah.
know. But the fact
I
that they
don't.
would hold him after a situation like this tells me
If
that
it's some.
additional
Yeah.
drugs and money was sitting at that house.
Exactly. Exactly. That not related to the shooting means they broke into the wrong people's house.
Hmm.
Hmm.
John Thompson said, "Hey, it's likely because it's something that they can't talk about." But yeah, I'm thinking as we talk a little bit more about it that additional drugs and money was at that place, and those soldiers just wrong place, wrong time, wrong person, house,
Hmm.
and ended up catching a bullet because of it. And now
By
other
a
people,
16-year-old. That
yep,
16-year-old was at home playing Call of Duty and then decided to play Call of Duty for real.
uh-huh. So then check this out. After Williams got shot, Gillis and Paulson um drove the guy to his house and left his body at the front door. They didn't even take old buddy to the hospital, bro. Talk about
And then turned themselves in anyways. Like, why didn't you try to at least take him to the hospital?
yep. Yep, it's like, everything's wild. Somebody got shot. Y'all retreat. And instead of going to the hospital, you take this dude back to his house, drop him off, and then have a conscience and decide to go turn yourself in. This screams that they were younger than 20, but let's see if they get into the ages up top. They said that Williams, who died, was 23. I
23.
wonder what the ages of Blake and Zachary were. Because that screams, young and stupid, man. I don't
Can
get it.
you now the real story here is that sergeant thought he had a good weekend. And then
Hey,
his two soldiers show up and tell him they broke into some people's houses, got their buddy shot and killed, and now they're worried about getting in trouble. It's like, Jesus, I could not imagine getting this call. I'm sitting at home eating dinner with my wife, and my soldiers call me and tell me, "Hey, Sarge, we fucked up." You know what I mean? The level of fucked up is like, ugh. It's like, oof. Mm.
man, I'm telling you, there's a whole lot of layers to it. Okay, there's what was going on at that house. There's the three people involved in their immediate family. There's a widow now. There's a widow who, if they just got married, did the benefits start in time enough? Is she going to be able to get anything now that her husband's dead?
She gonna be
Does she get
rich.
anything because of the nature? Get that
He just
SGLI?
he hasn't even had a chance to put her in Deers yet. You know what I mean? Like they just got married. She ain't getting nothing. I mean, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I've seen some instances where things were able because of just how a person got married on a Friday. Obviously, the weekend you can't really do too much, but
Mm,
then car accident happens,
yeah.
the serviceman died, and they were able to get the benefits still because of the circumstances. In this, I'm not sure how this works, man. Ah,
Some
hey,
16-year-old was playing
of,
Warzone.
st- yep, if you know of stories that are similar, put it
Oof.
up in the comments. Let us know what you think would happen with something like this, and if the newly wed spouse should be able to get some of the benefits. Now,
Mm,
hear
it's a
my
good
question.
question.
It should,
Yeah,
So
I
that's
agree.
going to be an opinion piece by whoever decides to comment on it. All right. Let's go to our penultimate. Is that the word? Like the main event? I don't know big words
Penult-
like you do.
Penultimate?
Is that the right word? I that's
It's
the
one of
word
the
that I
words.
was that's the word that I was trying to say, but it's like whatever like the main event is. There's all these fancy words for like stuff. Okay, and we're going to dig into this, and this one has a lot to it. So I hope that we can keep the attention
Mm,
of our viewers and listeners by digging into it. So this is from Task and Purpose, and
mm.
the headline reads: Air Force fires commander who separated an airman recovering from a suicide attempt. Okay, that's the headline. All right, and this is the commander who got fired, Major April Weidman, who was the commander of the 317th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron. And this photo was taken March 17, 2021 at Dyess Air Force Base, which is in Texas. Hey, both of our stories Well, not both of our stories, but at least this story came out of Texas. Okay, but
Gotta
hey,
get that geography right.
look, she's made it to commander, major, you know, which is a big deal. When you think about commanders in the military, my opinion of commanders is they kind of have a lot of different things. They're
Hmm.
responsible for the health and welfare of the people executing the mission, as well as they get judged by the metrics by which they do that mission
Hmm.
as well. Okay. So they're paid the big bucks for a reason. Commanders are like CEOs of businesses. Would you agree with that statement? If
Yeah,
not, how would you
yeah.
change it?
No, that sounds about right. I mean, what people don't understand about like first sergeants and commanders is they have to be uh, aware of the everyday happenings at their at their specific units. So there's a lot of shit that they deal with. So one side of me will say, yeah, a lot of the times you're going to feel like these people don't give a shit about you, but it's because they have to worry about so many things. Not just it's not just you. Like you only have to worry about you. Or if you're a sergeant, you have to worry about your Joes. But they have to worry about everybody and everything. So they take this bigger picture approach sometimes. But I've had good experiences with them and I've had bad experiences with them. So I mean,
Y-
it's one of those things where let's see where this goes.
Yes. So we're going to talk about this story, and then I'm going to share my Air Force Medboard story
Mm,
because I think that you can see a contrast in leadership and like I'll say that my leadership was fantastic
mm,
throughout the entire time because when you're going through a big change like that, you have all these questions, and if you have the support of your people behind you, I think that that makes a world of difference with how you experience
mm.
that type of change like that. Okay,
Mine was the total opposite.
would you be willing to share yours?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's get right into it. Just like the headline said, the Air Force relieved an officer of command who served separation paperwork to an airman in a mental health clinic for treatment after the suicide attempt. The airman was quoted as saying he was made to feel like a piece of shit for going through a medical eval board and retaliated against an airman's spouse. The commander retaliated against another
Mm.
airman's spouse. So there's two parts to this story here.
There's a
Okay.
lot more than two.
So, so this major was relieved of command last week,
Just last
um,
week. Yeah.
after Colonel James Young said that he lost confidence in her ability to lead the squadron. Okay, and the public affairs officer came out and said that another major temporarily assumed command of the squadron the following day. There are quoted saying, "Command of an Air Force unit is a position that requires trust, both up and down the chain of command. When that trust is lost, it affects good order, discipline, unit cohesion, and ultimately risk mission accomplishment." That's a well crafted, well said statement
Yeah.
by this person. Okay.
Pretty sure that's the public affairs person.
Absolutely. The service began investigating this lady on September 29th to ensure Air Force standards of professionalism and culture are upheld by leadership while affording all members due process. Everybody's entitled to due process. Just because somebody makes a claim against something, you can't just
Yeah.
automatically relieve people of command. But if
Right.
you are relieved of command, it's because they got something on your ass.
But let me tell you, an investigation like that into a leadership thing taking only 3 months, there was some evidence.
Yes.
That
Yes.
shit normally takes like 6 months to a year, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
longer.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a good statement to make. And you said it right on time because the next paragraph goes, though the investigation of Whiteman is still ongoing, two airmen who served under her spoke out to Task and Purpose about their experience under her command.
Mm,
Both of these people spoke under condition of anonymity. Anonymity. Did I
hmm.
say that right?
Yeah.
Out of fear of professional retaliation. And I like the task and purpose did reach out to her. She declined to
Mhm.
comment.
But see, that's good though. It shows that they did their due diligence. They want to provide the aspects from everybody. The people who talk though are the people who are going to get their story out. She's
Hmm.
also got to be smart too. She's got to be smart with her career and protecting her butt. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes,
So
because just because you're relieved of command for people that aren't aware of this, like, oh well, is she fired?
no,
That's not a killer of your service while you're
it's
in the
not the end of
military.
your service. It could be a killer, but it's
It
not the
could be
end
a
of your
killer, but it
service.
is definitely not the end. Like they don't just
No.
automatically boot you out for that.
I
But
mean, but again, it also depends on the level of what you did to get relieved of command. Like
yes.
if you fucking killed somebody or you beat somebody, yeah, then you're done. But I mean, and don't get me wrong, this is, in my opinion, depending on all the stuff that happened, is of that severity. So in all likelihood, her career is probably over, but it's not
Hmm.
necessarily a guaranteed thing.
Correct. Yep, that's correct. So one of the people who goes under the name CL is quoted
Hmm.
as saying she was very unfair and unethical to members going through medical treatment and those who sought mental health. Now that statement right there is making it seem as though she's not just that way with whoever CL was,
Hmm.
but it was everybody
And I
who
think
had
that
served
serves,
under there.
yeah, and that definitely helps the case of the person making the statement. The person making the statement is not saying, it was just me that she didn't like. They're saying that she behaved this way to multiple people. And if multiple people speak up, that's why this investigation only took 3 months.
Hmm. So this person by the pseudonym CL felt that unfair treatment personally when he was recovering from injuries sustained while deployed.
I mean, how could you treat somebody who got injured on deployment poorly? Like it's not like they were out like racing buggies in the desert and injured themselves and they did something stupid. This person was deployed and got injured. I don't even care what that injury was on deployment. You know what I mean? Yeah, I guess it does matter what happened on the deployment, but I mean, she, I don't know. I don't know. Like that just bugs the hell out of me. People get injured on deployment. You can't treat them like shit. They were doing their job, you know?
Yep. Now, they said that they were undergoing medical treatment and started a medical evaluation board, or called MEB for short,
Or med board.
when Major Whiteman took command of the 317th in the summer of 2020. Okay, so the commander wasn't the commander the entire time that this
Hmm.
person, had
Took
gotten it,
over
but
after all this stuff had started.
which man, I think just off the bat right there, unless you are introduced to that person or that commander, just hey, give me a list of personnel that's going through a med board right now in my
Hmm.
unit, and then takes the time to go out and talk to those people one by one. If a commander did that, instant freaking respect,
Hmm.
instant respect. Okay, or if they did that along with the first sergeant, okay, instant respect, because do they have to do that? No. But when you think about them being charged with the health and welfare of everybody that's in that unit,
Hmm.
maybe it's because that's the way that I think. I would make that one of my higher priorities,
Yeah,
because the way I think is that when you take care of the people will take care of you.
yeah. And
Okay?
that's a great way to. And honestly, I feel like that's a very Air Force thing of you to say. I think that that's how leaders should approach their positions. But I guarantee you, there are leaders out there who view it strictly as a numbers game, and these people are soon to be lost to them. These people are taking up a spot, and they can't do anything with those spots until these people leave. So she probably didn't give a shit about these people. You know what I mean? That's what it sounds like, anyways. You know what I mean? Like, and that's again kind of how I was treated by some of the people in the military when I was in the military, when I was going through my med board and all that shit. I was treated like I didn't fucking matter. You know why? Because I wasn't going to be around anymore. They didn't care. You know what I mean? They didn't care enough to begin with to even I don't know. this kind of treatment to people going through med boards happens all the time. All the time. They treat people with injuries and illnesses like pariahs. They treat them like they are faking it, or they treat them like they're, a waste of space, and they just want to get them out. And in some ways, I understand where that's coming from, but it's fucked up. Most of these people get hurt or experience these things because of their service. It's not, they didn't just wake up and decide, I'm going to break this or I'm going to have a chronic illness from now on. You know what I mean? It's like these people can't control these things, and they're being treated like they're wasting everybody else's time. It's like, but if the roles were reversed, the person who treated other people like shit would want to be treated fairly and would raise a stink if they weren't treated fairly. You know what I mean? That's the part that always
Mm-hmm.
blows my mind. That's the part that always bugs the shit out of me.
Yep. And now, Joe, here's the thing. Depending on what level you are in your service and how much
Mhm.
into the strategic thinking that you get into, when I got med boarded, I was about 8 years in at the time, I want to say. So I was an NCO. I had been working at the tactical level for a while. And for those of y'all that aren't into strategy and stuff, okay, you got your tactical level and you have your strategic level. When you're an E4 and below, or you can say yeah, E3 and below, you don't really make strategy. You just do. Okay.
Mhm.
And then it's really not until you become like the senior level NCO. So not even really your NCOs. Your
Mhm.
NCOs kind of get into the strategy. They're charged with understanding the strategy and then working with the people under them to execute the stuff on the tactical level. Okay. But I was keenly aware of how my Met board would affect somebody else because guess what? I found out about me having a bad ticker the weekend before I was set to deploy. Okay?
Mhm.
So that's my story. So what did that mean? That means that my unit had to immediately spin up somebody who wasn't thinking about deploying. Okay? Like you're told to always be ready at a moment's notice, right?
Mhm.
But people, you kind of knew when you were going down range. We did a good job of trying to be as predictable as we could in the area realm of going TDYs and stuff like that. But at the same time, like you always had to be ready. But now somebody had to take my spot, and I was kind of bummed by that. Not that I just found out that my heart's not really a normal type of heart, but also that now somebody's gonna have to, pick up my slack. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
I shouldn't have even said like pick up my slack. It's not pick up my slack, but now somebody's gonna have to be charged with doing what I was supposed to do, and I knew that. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And that was definitely gonna change somebody else's, you know, plan, so to speak. But luckily for me, at least they didn't say it to my face. But I'm actually real good friends with this guy. He just said, "Hey, man, it is what it is. Like, but are you okay?"
Mhm.
And that right there is when you know somebody like has your back, because at least that's what they said to my face. Now 5 minutes later, if they're calling their space like their wife like yeah, man, king of this stupid ass heart, hey babe, I know we had tickets to go see the Swan play last or next weekend, but I ain't gonna be able to make that now. uh
Mhm. Mhm.
that very well could have happened, but the guy that ended up actually taking my place, like I'm still real good friends with him. We are networked together on
Yeah.
Facebook. We just don't live anywhere near each other. But he
Yeah.
did say, "Hey, that's fine and cool, but how are you doing?"
Yeah.
And I thought that was dope.
Yeah. See, I wish I could say that that was like that for me. It was like the people who I knew when I was in my last unit going through my med board, almost none of them ever stayed in touch with me. None of them gave a shit.
Damn.
Yeah. Like two, three people max. Like I've really stayed in touch with, but for the most part, nobody gave a shit.
Wow.
But I mean, I got there new, and I got to this unit, and that was supposed to be my unit. That was in my orders, and there were other units in the area that needed people, and because the people who were already in this unit didn't want to go, and I was new, so I didn't know anybody, they were like, just fucking send that guy. So they sent me. If I hadn't been moved, I would have never gotten med boarded
Mm.
because they weren't deploying anytime soon.
Yeah.
Maybe, but by that time things had changed a little bit. Maybe I would have been able to stay. I don't know, but like because of all the shit that they did, and they fucked me over. I mean, they totally fucking changed my orders on me, even though I had these orders for over a year. Um, but like none of them. So I mean, even going into that unit, nobody gave a shit about me. They were like, "We don't know this guy. We don't need this guy. We don't just send him over there. Fill that spot over there with him." And then I got to that unit, and I was treated like shit there too. Is
Man.
yeah.
Mm.
It's just once you're hurt, like once you've been injured, you're a liability to them instead of being a person. You know what I mean? Like even if you're doing the job, even if you're meeting the requirements, even if you're doing everything, it doesn't matter. Like you're always your injury now. Like you know what I mean? Like that is who you are. I had a
Yep.
cable holding my shoulder together so I couldn't put my arm behind my back. So I couldn't stand a parade rest. Not fully. The goofiest fucking problem to have. Because don't get me wrong, I fucking hate not being able to stand at parade rest. But I got a cable in my shoulder. It's not common. Like it's not my fault, dude. I did not do that. But people would like look at me funny, and people would be like, who the fuck are you? I was like, fucking soldier, dude. Like just doing my job. Like that's the thing. What they don't understand is I don't fucking want it either. And it's really fucking silly to get hung up on the fact that I can't put my arm behind my back. I was still lifting things and carrying things and doing push-ups and doing all the other things I could do, but I couldn't stretch backwards. Like I couldn't put this arm backwards behind my back. Fucking big deal. Like why is that a big deal? I still could do all my push-ups and sit-ups and run. Well, I couldn't run anymore because I had fucked my back up. But I mean, I could do everything else. I was still passing my PT test. Why was I still a piece of shit if I was doing everything I was supposed to do? That's the part that always blew my mind. It's like it didn't matter at that point what I did.
Yep. Yep. And that's
Anyway,
unfortunate. Uh,
we're getting off.
so the person in this article by the pseudonym CL said that they soon realized that his physical well-being and the well-being of his families were now a low priority for the major, who told him that he would have to come back to work and fit his medical appointments around the work days. Oh
lot
man.
of boss, a
Oh,
lot of
oh,
bosses
oh,
say shit like that.
oh.
A
He
lot
was
of
also
bosses say shit
told
like that.
to make up for time absent from work as a result of the Air Force directed med board appointments.
I've never heard of that before.
Wow. See that that if you make it to the level of command, to me, you're not an idiot.
No.
But if you did indeed tell this person or he tried to imply, because some are smart. Some are smart. They'd be like, no, I didn't tell him he had to, but the way that they would word it would make it implied that
Implied.
they were
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
say that, but they covered their ass
Mhm.
by saying, no, I never ordered him to do
Mhm.
additional work.
Mhm. Don't get me
Anyway,
wrong. Don't get me wrong. Like me, when I was going through all that stuff, I made sure all my work was done. I did everything I was supposed to do. But depending on your role and position, somebody it will have to cover down if you're not there to do your job, depending on what it is that you do.
mhm,
But you can't say that they have to. I mean, technically, she can. The army can make you, or the military can make you work as long as they fucking decide. You don't have to go home at 5 o'clock.
correct.
Many a night, I was at work until 7, 8 o'clock at night because somebody else had something to do. So she's not necessarily gonna get hemmed up for that part. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. Now, for people that didn't catch that, in the military, you don't just have hours, okay?
Mm-mm.
There are certain positions and certain jobs that, because of the nature of what they do, like like if you're in aviation, for example, I can't just be flying, come off of a flight and go right into another flight that's like 10 hours or whatnot because they have something called crew rest, and crew rest is for the safety of aviation, right? You
Hmm.
can't be flying and landing and tired because they realize that there's stressors on your body from flying that could cause you to make a bad decision.
Hmm.
Okay. But for the most part, okay, that's the exception. There are certain jobs that fit that category that are exceptions. But for the most part, if your commander tells you it's 7 to 7 because of whatever,
77.
and and you have to be there an extra 2 hours, if the military didn't issue you a family, so your butt is working from 7 to 7. They don't care that your son has a basketball game, or that your
Hmm.
daughter is getting married, or that so and so has some type of surgery or whatnot. Like they care, but
But do they?
do they know?
But do they know?
So, and
They
that's
don't
just
care.
the unfortunate nature of it, man. So people do have to kind of understand too. And at some point, in some levels, I get it. In some
Hmm.
levels, dude, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Because you're authorized a certain amount of people in your command. Like this much I do know. Okay. It's not
Yeah.
like they could just say, okay, well, Smith can't go aerial refuel now, but I need another staff sergeant in his place. Let me go pluck one. They don't really have the ability to do that because it's not just that. Now you're also having to think about the upstream training of getting a new person qualified and up to the level that you're at, and
Mm-hmm.
like there's the human capital planning piece that goes into that as well. So when somebody does get injured, it's a big deal, not just for the person. Look, that person has to do what they have to do to increase their well-being, not really for the mission in my opinion, but just for themselves.
Hmm.
Okay, the mission's going to go. The mission's going to go. That part hasn't changed as long as we've had a military, you know.
Hmm.
But these people that are out there giving up life and limb and their mental well-being for the service, man, it's I'm not sure, and we've had this issue for a long time, that we're still doing enough to take care of people properly. Now, to be fair, there's a lot of people that have gone through this system, and I feel confident saying that at least a majority are being taken care of. What do you think about me saying that?
I think I think the level of care needs to improve, but I think by and large, most people are at least being taken care of to a degree. Like obviously if nobody was being taken care of, this would be a far greater issue, and there'd be a lot more in the news about it. You know what I mean? I think there should be more in the news about it even now, but I think that over the last like 5 or 6 years, there's definitely been a really good improvement to the overall care that the VA has provided to people. Um, and So I don't think you're wrong. I think that the level of care needs to improve, but I think that's a cultural, and I say cultural as in the business culture of the VA, not like society or anything. The business culture of how the VA does business has to improve for the care to improve.
There you go. There you go. Now, getting back into this story, this
Mm,
part made me kind of scratch my head. So the person also made the claim and said that due to being told to make up time for being absent at work, that this made his life more difficult for him because he was unable to drive due to his medical issues, and that his command team said that they would not help him with transportation due to manning and operation issues.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm sorry. Like, how understaffed is this unit?
Right?
Because you're not like I can't imagine that somebody can't take a half an hour out of their day to drive somebody to a location.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make life harder? Sure, but you go and you help your people. You know what I mean? Like I've taken soldiers around to do shit because I had to, like it was my job, but ultimately because I wasn't going to let them, flounder on their own. You
Yes,
know,
yes,
it's
or Joe, and I mean this is hindsight being 2020, but I get so irritated about stuff like this because like I said, I've always been a people take care of your people first kind of
yeah,
person.
yeah.
Or if you can't do it, there are organizations near the base or on the base, all right? You've got this thing called the Airmen and Family Readiness Center that are there to assist in ways that your unit might not be able to. I
Hmm.
can't
Hmm.
imagine that if this unit is so down on manning issues that they were unable to help, their soldier out, that they couldn't have gone to one of these units on the base and asked for some assistance to, get to allow this person to be able to get to the places that he needed to be.
Yeah. Also, most installations have like shuttles and shit on the base. I can understand if they said, "Hey, there's shuttles on the base to get you from point A to point B. Use the shuttles." But depending on what this guy's problem or this person's problem is, like, what if it's seizures? Wouldn't you want to have somebody to protect this person or be with this person in case something happened? Like, is it going to make it harder for us to get our mission done? Yeah, but I would much rather be a little bit behind on some work and make sure this person doesn't die than not give them a person to go with them to help them get from point A to point B. Also, work with the damn clinic. They probably have an not an aid station, but like a hospital or a clinic on the installation. That's a unit. They have people coordinate with them for shuttle services.
Yep. I mean,
If you don't have it, they have it.
so much stuff, man.
Yeah,
Even
a
if you
lot of
wasn't
balls were
like
dropped.
even when you wasn't like a religious person, you could have gone to the chaplain where they tend to
Hmm.
be a lot more empathetic. To where even
Yep.
if you're like a non-denominational person, you go to the chaplain and say, "Chaplain, look, I got a problem." Okay. Oh, go
Also,
ahead.
what about the fact that they're in a med board? Shouldn't they be in the wounded warrior detachment?
I don't
Shouldn't they have
know.
been moved from that unit to a unit that's designed to help people go through med board processes?
I,
Because that's the
I
same
don't
shit
know
that
if
they may not have it. Is what you're
yes,
probably
yeah.
gonna say. When
Hmm.
I was at Fort Bragg, they had one, and my unit did not send me to one like they were supposed to. I
Okay.
worked until the day I retired. There were a lot of services that I did not get that could have made my life easier.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It was real fucking hard to go from fully working to hard stop, and then I'm a civilian, and I have no services available to me because I'm retired now. They didn't give a shit if I had a job coming up. You know what I mean? Like I could have ended up homeless on the street, and I had a family to take care of. You know what I mean? Like this, why was this service member, this airman, not in a wounded warrior detachment or in
Okay.
a some kind of shit like that? You know what I mean? I don't know what the Air Force has.
So I don't know if that's something that the Air Force has now, but at least when I was going through, when you were going through a med board, you were assigned a PEBLO, your
Yes.
eval board liaison officer,
Yeah.
but they were kind of more like on the admin side with that stuff. Now they did coordinate and communicate between the commander, your first sergeant, and you. Okay,
Hmm.
like they
Hmm.
were exactly what the name implied. Your liaison officer, and it was a civilian that was trained in this. Mine was okay. I wouldn't give glowing recommendations, but she wasn't bad either. There was some stuff that I learned after the fact that I was kind of like, oh, it would have been nice if I would have been told this by my
Hmm.
Peblo, but that
Yeah,
but that's another story.
it's another
But the Air
story.
Force doesn't have like a detachment like that you would have the person kind of go work at. So you get reclassified, okay,
Hmm.
for like personnel reasons, but then you're still like with your unit. So you're still accountable to your first sergeant, your supervisor, and things like that. I had never heard of like a warrior detachment unit, but that sounds like an amazing thing that most bases should have for
Hmm.
people that are going through that kind of board like that, because they're going to have different circumstances than most, to where I think that you have to be cognizant of what those different circumstances are, man. Just I don't see how you can just discard people. You know what? Let's keep going. So this person said, coming out of treatment, I went into this meeting with the commander, the shirt or the first sergeant, and the squadron chief. And CL said, looking back, I realized that instead of being asked, how can we make this happen? Which is a fantastic way to go into that meeting.
Hmm.
They said that they were basically told what is going to happen. And he continued, bear in mind, this is one of my first interactions with the commander. I thought things were going to be good. I was coming back to work and I was looking to prove my value to the Air Force and that I could still serve at this point. But I quickly learned that the folks at the top of my chain did not care. Right out the gate, she was extremely unempathetic towards what I and my family was going through. I was made to feel like a second class citizen and a piece of shit for things that are out of my control. But Joe, it turns around. This person said, luckily, I was saved by a few good senior non commissioned officers in the unit who care about their troops and saw what was happening. Those guys got me into a place where I could work within my limitations at the time and be a productive, contributing member to the unit without compromising my recovery.
And that
That's
sounds more like what I was talking about.
that's fantastic.
Hmm.
That part was fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, so that kind of wrapped up that person's story, and the same person got into another incident, and I thought this was bro. Just listen. The same person also recalled an incident in which the major retaliated against another airman's wife for trying to help the spouses of other airmen. The wife was a member of the Key Spouses Organization, and most units have the Key Spouses Organization or club. It's a great setup, okay? And it's where the spouses of service members, they have a way or a place to talk and knowledge share,
Hmm.
essentially, right? Great thing when it's ran well. It's a fantastic way to have an organization help keep spouses. And when I say spouses, I don't just mean women, spouses of service members, um, informed of like what's going on. Okay. Because the members of the unit, they have the information, they get these briefs about different things and their benefits and stuff when they're deployed in TDY. The spouses, um, sometimes don't, unless they were a former military member themselves. They may, or they've been in a while, they may not fully understand what's happening, what's available to them, or who they need to talk to if something's going wrong or whatever. um but one of the spouses of a service member uh uh was trying to get orders for another, spouse, so that because there's certain benefits that you get that are activated and available upon to you once you have those orders in hands, because you're going to have like a deployment order number, or I forget the exact terminology, but that's what helps you do it. So if you don't have those orders, if you need a certain benefit or assistance without those orders, you really can't do anything. So to summarize what happened here, this key spouse person found a way to get the orders because the commander did not issue them out, or maybe put a gap. I don't know. But for some reason the orders didn't go out when they should, when I guess they could have gone out.
Hmm.
This
Yeah.
key spouse found a way to get them and get them to the people that needed them. The commander found out about it and had retaliated against both the key spouse and the key spouse's serving service member. Okay, which is hilarious to me. Um, and it just and because look, it seemed like this key spouse was doing things to support the other people that needed, help, and wasn't trying to be malicious about doing it. Okay, and they worked with the airmen and family readiness center to make sure that the other spouses had access to the right sources. But the fact that the spouse got access to the orders set the major off. Okay, and this person was quoted as saying Whiteman was mad. The unit was already trending at this time due to logistics issues, and the spouse had to step down from the key spouse organization. And even after that, CL is quoted as saying Whiteman continued to target the husband, who was, the person that was serving at the time. Jesus Louise, man. And he said, "Hey, look, this is unfortunate because they were both wonderful people, but they've continued to persevere despite it. Thank goodness. The
Hmm.
whole incident sparked an investigation, and we know what came from that." Man.
You know what's crazy? We haven't even gotten to her serving the service member who was with paperwork, who was going through the mental health treatment for a suicide attempt. Like, this is pretty damning evidence.
Yep. Hey, we've been on this story for a while because there was so many parts to it
There's
that
just so
hey,
much.
let's get to the next part. Let's get to the next story because it was coming up.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
man.
Ooh.
Let's let's roll the sleeves up.
Oh
A
man.
second airman said that he experienced similar treatment. This airman said that he was completely open with his leadership about mental health issues that he was going through in the fall of 2020 through the spring of 2021. For example, he kept his supervisor aware that he was taking medication to treat depression. However, the medication was not working for the airman, which led him to oversleeping during the duty day, and he was demoted from senior airman to airman first class. That's E4 to E3. This person was quoted saying, "I talked to my supervisor, and he said that was pretty extreme."
Well, it
Okay, so
depends.
so
It
that's
depends. Is
see,
it
yeah,
one day or is it multiple days?
yes,
Like
yes,
like and even then, like there's it can't just be like a one shot deal. Like you don't just sleep in one duty day and get demoted. Like and that's what it sounds like in the article. It sounds like he overslept during a duty day and he was demoted for it. That that sounds really sketchy. And on top of that, if he was making them aware of what he was going through and that he was having issues with his medication, if he was being open and clear with them, they have to work with him. Like they can't just say, "Well, I don't care." You know, I mean, he's got if it
yeah.
looks like he's taking advantage, that's one thing, you know, that's a different story altogether. So, I mean, this one that one is tough because it's like there's got to be more to this, you
You
know?
know, there has to be because you would think that somebody somewhere would raise their hand and go, "Why is this happening?" Especially when we
Yeah.
know about
Yeah,
his
and
mental health and the medicine. Why is
remember
this
this is
happening?
happening all during COVID. This is
Yes,
all happening during COVID. A
yes,
lot of
good
fucking
point.
people were super depressed.
Good
You
point.
know what I mean? Like I
So the story goes the airman's mental health continued to deteriorate until one day in March of 2021 when he attempted suicide. He survived and was checked into a mental health clinic in San Antonio, which was a 4-hour drive south of Dallas. But the distance did not stop this major, the commander, and the assistant first sergeant from making the drive down to the hospital to serve the airmen separation paperwork.
this mm,
Recap that. Recap that.
unpackage that. That is fucked up.
While serving and being at a mental health clinic, you decide to in person deliver separation paperwork to somebody.
Mm,
What
wow.
are you thinking?
Mm, that's that's a
Major Weidman.
whole nother level.
Major Weidman. I- I'm going to talk to you right now. You may not ever watch this, but if you do, you know what? I'm not going to say that. That would be very unprofessional of me to
Mm,
say.
mm,
But let's just think about this, Major Whiteman. Recapping that, if you still feel, and look, I don't have the whole picture. Let me just say that up front. King Smith does not have the whole picture. But I would like to know if, as much as things happened then, if you would still do that again. Not and not worrying about the public fallout from other people reading something like this, but would you continue and make that same decision again? I know you can't comment, but if you have a throwaway account, log into your throwaway account and comment on this story, damn it.
It'd be like, hey, Major Wyman, check this out. It's not the same thing. It's not even remotely the same thing. But the day after you got fired, they're going to serve you an eviction notice. How do you think that's going to make you feel? You
Ah,
know what I mean? Like, it's not even
man.
remotely the same thing. And that would still be fucked up.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
oh, man, bro.
So the person
Oof.
came out and said that they wasted a whole day and ruined my treatment. I
Hmm.
don't know why they had it out for me so bad. Unfortunately, this airman may not be the first to be served paperwork after a suicide attempt. In January, the top enlisted leader in the branch, Chief Master Sergeant Joanne Bass, said she was looking into an incident of an airman in Colorado who was sent a letter of reprimand and a letter of counseling shortly after attempting suicide. Just come. Oh my goodness. The leadership's level of stupidity is frustrating.
Lack of empathy.
Lack of empathy,
It's
man.
lack of empathy.
Jeez Louise. Oh man. Chief Master Sergeant at the time, Bass came out and said that this situation gives us an opportunity to reflect on the culture we need where airmen understand their responsibilities as both leaders and wingmen. A culture where respect, trust, accountability, and compassion guide our actions. I had heard great things about her. I had heard that she was a really good leader and that her time as Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force was impactful in that she made some really good decisions when she was aware of things and also tried to instill that type of stuff out
Yeah,
to her people.
but if you followed her on social media, you also realize that she made some missteps.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
made some missteps. Some
You did.
very oof moments.
So you know about who she is because of your role, I'm assuming,
Hmm.
and kind of what you do. Okay, so I liked that
She had a
she put
sense of
herself out
humor.
there.
Yeah, she did.
Yes,
And she had a sense of humor and she tried to play the game that she was social media savvy.
yes.
Unfortunately, service members or potential service members, they may not have been, they were trying to joke with her. And she don't know how to take a joke. Because and then there were other things where somebody shared a story. It turns out the story was false, but they went in on the other service member using only one side of the story. And so then the people defending the person who was shit upon came up and were like, no, this person's a liar. And she had to like, whoa, I did not realize not everything on the internet is true. You know, the internet will get you, man.
Yeah, she had some very interesting stuff because when
Hmm.
she was trending, depending on like where you got your news. It was typically comical.
It was. But she tried. Bless her heart.
But you tried, yes. So back to this story. While the airman that died submitted a rebuttal against the separation paperwork to try and stay in the service, in the end, there was not much he could do to challenge the separation. And
Mm,
he was quoted saying, "I would have wanted to stay in the Air Force if not for Whiteman's treatment of me." Okay.
mm.
And then there were other airmen that shared negative experiences regarding her as well. We had more than 2 dozen people reach out and tell us about how she, the first shirt, and other senior enlisted leaders were abusing folks going through issues that required treatment that were both mental health and other medical instances. Okay. Good night.
Can we talk about
Good.
the bigger problem here that there's that many people who are struggling?
Yes.
Like, what
Yes.
are we
Let's
doing to help them? Like,
let's
you know what I
now
mean? Like, because again,
now.
remember, this is during COVID.
Mhm.
Everybody is fucking struggling right now. Everybody, everybody. Even the people treating other people like shit, I guarantee you those people are having issues too. And probably
Yes.
not seeking help for them. Trying to be,
Yes.
trying to be all fucking hoo hoo and not acknowledging that they need to talk to somebody. But I mean,
Yep.
good lord, two dozen two dozen people are coming up and talking about it. It's a wonder that it took so long for the investigation to start. You know?
Yep. Now, this paragraph here starts out saying that Whiteman's removal from command comes as the Air Force struggles to confront a mental health crisis within its ranks,
Mm,
especially in the maintenance and security forces career fields. Now, I didn't have to read this to know that these two career fields here are the
will be
most
hardest hit.
stressful career fields in the Air Force, man. Those guys are a different breed.
Hmm.
Let me just say that much. And it's interesting how I next year would have been my 20th year in the service. And
Mm,
that was 20 years ago. And the fact that it's still the same way now should tell you something.
yeah, yeah.
And that data leaked to the popular Facebook page, Airman NTO and Senior NCO last year showed that a higher suicide rate uh, among those career fields than the rest of the branch. It was unfortunate, man, but if you had heard of a suicide amongst the ranks in the Air Force, how do I say this clear? You were not surprised if it was someone from the maintenance or security forces jobs. So, uh, let me see if there was anything else in here. Careerism and cronyism are a cancer in the Air Force that is causing retention issues. We see it in the aircrew community and in several high demand career fields like maintenance. People do not want to work for assholes who play favorites. The problems are
That's
compounded by a lack of effective prevention and intervention from mental health.
yeah. After 20 years of war, you think the Air Force would have figured it out by now? It's not just the Air Force, man. It's the whole military, dude. And the problem
Yes.
isn't the military in itself. The problem is the people. It's always the
Hmm.
people. Like this isn't some made up thing that only exists in the military. This fucking happens everywhere. Happens in business, happens in the federal workforce, happens in commercial workforce, happens everywhere. You gotta build a positive culture to remove the ability for things like this to thrive. And
Yes.
unfortunately, people like me don't matter. We're not the people who can make those changes. It comes from the top, but it comes from the top in a way that helps instead of uh like punishes. You know what I mean? Like obviously you want to fix the people who are doing wrong, but you can't do that by punishing them and making them bigger pieces of shit. You
Hmm.
gotta change their behavior. You can't do that by demoting them. And I mean, some of them deserve demoting, don't get me wrong, but you can't do it by demoting them and moving them to another location. They're just gonna do it again, you know?
Yep. Now, I said earlier that I was going to talk about my Met board experience, and I believe I could keep this in under 45 seconds. My
Mm.
med board experience was extremely positive. Okay. My
Yeah.
commander was also my commander the entire time. So
Mm.
when the news got found out about, my first sergeant was one of the first people that knew. But I called him. I called him directly because I was going through the chain of command. But the second person that I heard from was my commander. Okay.
Mm.
And my commander got on to me a couple of different times for stuff that I did not do. But at the same time, he was also like a fair person. Okay. So when it came down to my med board, he was there and he knew what was going on without me having to tell him, which told me that he was vested in what was going on with me, right?
Yeah.
But that he also wanted to hear just how I was doing.
Mm.
That made a world of a difference knowing that I had his support. A
Yeah.
world of a difference, okay? And he was one of the reasons when I went through my med board the first time around, when I got my initial rating, he said, okay, because I tried to fight to stay in. I was like, all right, I found out about my heart flukishly. Okay, it wasn't like I was out doing something and then I dropped dead or dropped down and then they checked my heart and found out that my heart wasn't good. It was somebody not doing their job that caused me to have to get my records redone. That when they were checking my records so that I could deploy, they did an EKG of my heart. That was weird 6 different times. So they sent me to a heart specialist. And that's when I found that my ticker is not a normal ticker. Okay. But had
Mm.
I had any instances of anything happen before that, any type of heart pain? No. No. All right. So going through my med board, I think it was a stressful time, was so much more different and positive because my commander had my back. Um, and I believe that he would have done that for anybody that was under his command. Like, not just I was this special snowflake and, he wanted to see do good. No, I think he would have done that type of work for anybody in his command. And I'm extremely thankful for that. So when it came back that I wasn't going to be able to stay in, it was his idea because I was kind of ready to just get out. All right, just get
Mm.
out. And my initial rating was low. And he said, do the in-person med board because your first one is just a paper review of what you got med boarded for. And it was his idea to say, hey, doesn't look like you'll be able to stay in. I've done everything that I can do. Do the in person med board because, at a minimum, it gives you time to figure out your transition. That
Mm.
was his idea. I was kind of ready to go, I don't want to do it. I want to take this money and start new, right?
Yeah.
But I was so glad that I did because going through the in person med board, it was determined that what I initially got rated for on paper, which is funny, word for word, was rated at a different number. I mean, literally word for word was rated at a different number, which uh, gave me a little bit more benefits and things than what the Air Force was initially trying to rate me for, or DOD,
Mm.
I should say.
Mm.
DOD was trying to rate me for. So that also taught me to be an advocate for yourself, okay?
Yeah.
Because if my Peblo was a little bit smarter, which is why, like I said, I'm not going to talk bad about her, but she was a little bit smarter. What my lawyer caught, the guy that is your advocate for when you do the in-person med board, what he caught and what he highlighted that was in my records to what the uh, VA, the Veterans Affairs schedules for ratings and disability is called the VASSERT. Like, word for word, it was written at a percentage higher than what the uh, paper med board tried to rate me at. So it was one of those things
Mm.
that he looked at it and was like, I don't understand how they rated you here when word for word you should at least be rated here.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed it to me. I did this and I did this, and the wording was almost the exact same, but it wasn't what I was rated for.
Yeah.
So, um, and that just made my transition a whole lot better, knowing that I had support from the command. Because having support from the command also get you support from everybody else down. Now, my enlisted side was also fantastic as too. So hey, it people checked on me. They checked on the wife. They made sure that like, man, my mentals was good. They threw me a party. It was like, hey, I know that things are different for you when people get back as our party, like folks that were TDY and deployed at the time.
Hmm.
And I mean, I didn't want to do nothing like that, but they knew that the type of person that I was, like, I'd rather be around people. So, it was just
Yeah.
one of the things that they did for me, man. So I have nothing but positive experiences about my eval board. Did you want to share yours?
I think I did during the show today. I think I ended up going into pretty much all of it. So,
Cool.
um, yeah, it was. I was in the unit that I was in for the last year of my career while I was going through my med board. I worked the entire time, but I worked for somebody who I really appreciated working for, who let me take care of my appointments when I needed to, and didn't make my life harder than it had to be. So, and I got lucky. I got a job shortly after I got out. So it worked out, but it was a lot harder than it needed to be. Um, and I might have ended up in a completely different career field, doing something better, making more money now or something had I gone had I had more resources and services available to me. But I very just as easily could have ended up homeless with how much it came down to luck at the end,
Mm.
which sucks. Nobody should be put in that situation, but unfortunately, that's a very real position they put people in.
Yeah, man.
Um, so, but yeah, yeah. So mine sucked, but you know what? I'm here, and that's all that matters.
You know what? You're right. You're here. That is all that matters. I met you because you're here.
Yeah,
So that is fantastic for all reasons. All right. So, new format of the show. I like this format going forward, but we'd also like to get feedback from the people as well. So, for those of y'all that are watching or listening, let us know what you think about the subjects that we talk about and chime in on them as well. Joe, we are going to still have our word of the day. And do you have one, good sir?
I do. I always do. You know me.
Okay.
I love our words of the day. So today's word of the day is umbrage.
Umbrage. Oh, man. Umbrage. Okay. All right. Umbrage. Umbrage is when you are under Cambridge and you are able to be distinctive because you've umbraged from Cambridge. Umbrage.
No, I don't even know what that means, man. Umbrage is offense or annoyance.
So, okay. Offense
Hmm.
or annoyance. Can you spell umbrage? Is it just like how it sounds?
I don't know how it sounds. You,
To me, it sounds like
you,
UMBRIDGE.
no, 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 no.
Okay.
That sounds like underbridge. Umbrage is Umbrage.
It looks like umbrage.
Hmm.
Okay. Umbrage. Offense or annoyance. Now, Joe, what made you pick this word?
Just it's people, being annoyed by each other when they're having conversations and shit like that. Just I took umbrage in your comments.
That sounds like a fantastic way of saying piss off.
Hmm.
Right there, what you just said and how you just said it, man. Okay, that one I am definitely going to be adding to my arsenal of words, especially if I'm having a debate or a conversation with somebody. I'm just going to look right in their face and say, I take umbrage with your words, good sir. Yes, you have enriched my life with that word of the day, umbrage. Respect, brother. Respect. All right. Well, hey, we have gotten through another episode of the Just Joking podcast. We will be back live December the 22nd with another episode. Also, be on the lookout as we're going to have these pieces chopped up on our social medias, okay, to where you can comment individually on the different stories and things that we have talked about, okay? So, thank you for tuning in to the Just Joking podcast. I am King,
And I'm Joe.
and we are out.